so it's coming up now to the end of 2020. What a year, right? In this video, I want to talk mostly about December energy, what to expect, how to prepare, what's going to help, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful, everything in between. Okay, so December 14th is a total solar eclipse, and I talked a lot about November energy in my last video I just made. So also there's a lot of Mercury energy at that time, and there's something else that's happening as well, which is that the giant planet of Jupiter and the intense planet of Saturn are what astrologers called anaretic, and they're in 29 degrees of Capricorn. And in my last video I was talking about how Capricorn can be very intense. And so when there is the number 29 and 29 degrees, there's a big intensity. So expect this time to be to pack a powerful punch, to put it that way. This is providing a massive, massive shift. I'm hearing portal, and the intensity of the energy is just like, okay. What an interesting thing about this particular energy of the Jupiter and the Saturn is that it's very much about law and power and all those big, heavy political, and I'm hearing corrupt, government influences, corporations, and there is this great race to the finish line is what it feels like. There's a feeling of corruption at the core they are seeing, and this being exposed, and I'm hearing turnkey, the keys being turned over from one to another. Okay, normally when I get a turnkey sign, it's like, as people say, when you move into a home turnkey, it's just like a quick switch and everyth's done and prepared. So it's interesting to have it given in this context. So there's so much going on. So we have that, which I will mention also. I made a note of at the very beginning of this year. I wrote down a note when I was writing down some notes about the energy for this year. When I came across, when I was looking at when the eclipses are going to be, and I came across information about December, I got a really bad vibe about, now I have to actually censor my videos because censorship is rife on Facebook and everywhere, and someone just popped me a message before that my very innocent video about tree energy was in some way came up with some warning message, and which is just ridiculous because obviously there's nothing contentious in there, even though I sometimes do talk about things like conspiracies and so on. So I've decided, to keep doing code words, so sorry, you just have to bear with me. But the person whose first name starts with Hill, and there's 3 more letters after that, and their surname starts with Clint, and then you add on. Okay, that person, I just got this person's face in my head, and I'm just hearing now an empire. This person's empire, what they perceive to be their empire. And I got the image of it being sort of war, death, darkness, corporations, traps, and chaos. That's what I wrote down. I also wrote down one more thing. It was a bad something vibe, and that something word in the middle is energy, which is contra God. Okay, so it was a bad contra God vibe. Let me just say it that way. It's just easier and keep it general. Okay, so lots of, and that's really interesting because at the time when I wrote this, it was either the very beginning of this year or end of last year, but I didn't know anything about all this COVID stuff at that time even. So we can apply it to that, but it's more in the politics and the elections and all that stuff. But I'm feeling what's the corporations, it's the darkness, it's the hidden hand, it's the stuff that's under that. Okay, So I just wanted to mention that because that note has been hanging around all year in my laptop, and I have shared that with a few friends online personally. So outside of all of that, and also plus, when I see this person's face, it's not in the most pleasant way or the pleasant vibe, but when this person's face pops up to me, which happens sometimes, if it doesn't represent her directly, then it represents the energy of those people, the people that are associated, or the political associations, or the corporate associations, or whatever, or just that kind of thing. Okay, all right, so what I wanted to say is there's no question about it, we're all moving into this higher state of consciousness, and it's like I said before, a race to the finish line, which is speaking really of people in power and so on. But for us, we're in the kind of this, even though things feel so slow moving or stationary or frustrating, we're also in a race to the finish line. Except their race is who's going to get there first, because it's service to self. It's their sense of service is only for themselves and their own agenda. Let's just talk about greedy, powerful people. Whereas our race to the finish line is just, when is this all going to be over with? When can we just get through all of this? And can I have any semblance of normality again, right? And so we're also all on our own race lines to whatever goals or changes we want to implement. And so many of us have felt like we can't attain that, or that it's just been too long to get there. So the repeated message in that has been, just chill, it's okay. We can't do it in God's time, okay? In God's time. It's not in, we don't design the itinerary and the timeline, and we want to control everything. We want to have the winning hand and to feel like we're on top of things, and to have all our I's dotted and T's crossed and our calendars sorted and everything organized. You know, we want all that, but a lot of that has gone out the window this year, right? And we've had to also think off on our feet a lot. When it came to things like people changing how they do business and so on, working from home, and new solutions, right? That idea of new solutions is going to definitely continue through with the introduction of a lot of Aquarian energy in December and leading into 2021. 2021, I feel, is very solutions oriented. At least there is the potential for grand solutions on a grand scale, but also small solutions happening in pockets. So for example, for people who are into the environment, will be finding solutions. People who are into politics will be finding solutions, or into whatever, like all different aspects, right? Technology is big, as well as innovation next year as well. But we had the good and the bad and the ugly, remember I said. So the grand technology, there's a lot of emphasis I feel on, you know, that valley, starting with the stuff that people put in breast augmentations. Okay, sorry, but I'm just trying to find the coded way to talk about it. That valley, valley, that is, there's a lot going down in that sphere, right? The big tech, right? And also the big, how do I say? I'll just say big farm and then add an A, but it's PH, not F. Okay, that whole industry, there's a lot of change ups, and I'm also hearing mix ups. So there's a feeling of things getting mixed up, a mix up of chemicals or interactions, or something not quite right, concoctions, something like that. I'm not quite sure, but also changes in that industry, but also corporations and CEOs changing hands, shifting, moving around in companies, things like that. Okay, this is really, I'm leaning more into 2021 here with this, but we're introducing the feeling of this in December. I'm seeing people's hats hang up and retirement. Literally, they're showing me hats hang up. Retirement of big corporation peeps, okay? CEOs, that kind of thing. CFO, I'm hearing too, so the financial that, and now I'm getting also, okay, George, and a word that rhymes with Bell, who's a well-known priest. He's higher than a priest, but I don't know his correct, title. who's connected to the Vatican and who has been implemented in crimes against children's innocence, I'll just put it that way. He comes up in my mind, okay, so I'm assuming this is leaning into 2021. But yeah, I really wanted to focus on December today, but December really weaves us into 2021, so I can see that really connects, but I'll bring more messages through about 2021 later. Let's get back to that mid-December feeling, okay, with the eclipse going on and that Jupiter-Saturn thing. Just watch in December that you don't completely run yourself dry and get completely exhausted and feel exasperated. You might also find that you're getting really shitty. So I did talk in my other recent video, okay, about that and what to do about that. When you feel that anger and irritation rising within yourself, your own anger, but also that of other people, just think of it as moving through your body and be conscious and aware of it. Observe it and allow it to move rather than get stagnated and stuck in one area. We've all recently had most likely periods of where we get that irritation come up, and I know I've had a couple of examples of it. So one was a person who has a completely different political view, and my anger just like, and it was also just the worst time to be talking on the phone, really. And so my anger was just like building up inside my body. Like I could feel it boiling. And for me, I'm a very physical person, being very physically empathic. And so I could feel it. It was just the most intense feeling. I couldn't shake it off for so long, right? And then another one was someone who actually, all it was, I don't even know this person, but anyway, they were a no-show in an appointment. And in the past, I've gone through a lot of stuff with appointments and no-shows and things like that. And it really was starting to bother me in the past. So when this happened, because I'd gotten all ready for the appointment, and it was just complete no-show, no regard, no messages, no nothing, no answering to any messages, no courtesy. And yeah, I don't know why, but I carried this anger with me for like 3 days about that. So, you know, and I just think, what does it come down to? It comes down to not only because it's an inconvenience of time and energy, and it's disrespectful, but also, you know, people don't think about other people. I find a lot, they only think of themselves, right? At least there are people like that around. And I'm not saying this person was, but it's just a trigger, right? And so what happens is we react to people's overreaction or reaction or underreaction. Have you ever noticed that? You don't get any reaction from something, and then that can be irritating. It depends what it is, right? There's just different variations of it. So we have these triggers. And obviously in recent times, there's been a lot of impetus for triggers. And so we're just like this, the angels are showing me now like this dashboard with all like a paramedic switchboard with all these flashing lights. Urgent, urgent, 911 everywhere, right? Message. And it's like, it's too much. It's too much. So we have to literally, they're saying switch off. Okay. So that's where it's important too, to switch off your phones and your social, and just, you know, one thing I did over a year ago now, probably several years ago, is I could not handle notification beeps on the phone or anything like that. And I switched all that stuff off because it just drives me insane, and I just can't handle it. Can't handle any kind of alarm, trigger, sound or anything. And we're getting, you know, not just the auditory ones, but we also receive the ones, you know, in our emails and social and so on, even just where it has, you know, like you've got 3 messages, it just says the number 3 in red. And like, that's just like a trigger, and we have this natural impulse to click it, right? And also to get it done, to tick off that list. Let's get those 3 done, and then it's clear again, okay? It's like trying to get on top of the laundry, and then I know lots of mums have said this, it's a mum thing, right? It's like you've done all your laundry, there's such a feeling of satisfaction of those empty baskets, and then someone comes along and they, you know, they throw 1 towel in or 1 sock or something, and you're like, there's that one thing there, I just did all the laundry. And so, you know, which is ridiculous. And, you know, it happens to So we're not OCD as well, but that's just how we are. That's how we're programmed in this world, and we're coming out of this. We're rewiring ourselves. We're rewiring ourselves away from that 80s, especially 90s programming into the 2000s and so on. Just how we were brought up and through the school system and through the work system and coming up to recent times, and all of that's been challenged now. And there's a lot of people who have progressive thoughts that want progressive change and thinking of solutions, right? And that's what we want to focus on. Keep focusing on that and just try to ignore or override the other crazy chaos in between. You might find during this time you have a lot of breakthroughs, epiphanies, awakenings, intuition rising, heightened dreams, things clicking in. So do pay attention to them and enjoy that ride. When it comes, and when you get those intuitive impulses, write them down, pay attention and try to ride those waves and stretch them out as long as you can. We have to keep in mind that there is going to be a lot of deception as well, and there are things to watch out for and to look out for as well, in the way of being an observer. So, you know, with this eclipse season right now, it's you know, they call it the wild card of astrology, okay? And I just heard, and the trump card, okay? So you can take that literally or just metaphorically, okay? But someone has the upper hand and there are cards being played and dealt with, okay? So they're all side messages. So it's a very potent time of year. You know, it can be dramatic, but there's so much opportunity for change, for awakening, for shifts to happen. So just try to, you know, enjoy that aspect and maximize that as much as possible. I mentioned in my last video about the news, so pay attention to that news and global events and all that sort of, I feel global events definitely happening. So the feeling is of shootings, okay, anything else? Yeah. Protests continuing. I've got a lot of messages this year about an uprising and civil unrest that I've talked about lots of times before, and that's definitely going to be ongoing. I think that's obvious anyway, but that's what the energy is showing. It feels as I connect with it, it's just like, it makes my stomach just grip like this. So it's you know, there can be positive and negative aspects of that. How can I read into this? Okay, so safety could be of concern or of paramount concern, okay. Public, being out in public. I'm also feeling there'll be some kind of showdown or thing about masks. And it's interesting that, you know, the idea of the mask is that it enslaves us, and it really is like the facial handcuff. But there'll be some kind of contention about that. But I'm also seeing people in masks or headgear or scarves or outfits that are like black but with messages on them, so that are like negative. So like groups that would be like the modern day KKK or something affiliated with that, or extremist of some kind, or negative in some way. Branding, I'm hearing branding, so their masks or their paraphernalia, their outfits or whatever, t-shirts or whatever, have paraphernalia on them, but it feels more like a headscarf or something like that, or a scarf here or something. And I'm seeing a lot of black, but maybe some red or something else in it, but there's messaging. Okay, so that's something to watch out for as well. And something to do with that word that starts with ant, and then you add IFA. Okay, I don't follow and know much about all that stuff, but that's how I'm hearing it, feeling it. Okay, so this whole period too can bring about periods of where things feel like they're accelerating and moving really fast. And they're pockets. They're showing me there's pockets of exhilaration, but at the same time, you're moving step by step, and it's like before you know it, the year's over, and you're like, wow, where did that year go? Where did December go, right? Where did the end of this year go? So you could go through these periods of having this push me, pull me effect as the energy is intense, or your things rise up, like I talked about in my last video, stuff rising up to deal with that are coming up to the surface. That can feel really heavy, and you can feel, there's also a feeling of tug and war between people, between parties, between events, just between so many things. So you want to avoid being the rope in the tug of war, right? Or being on either side of a rope. Let go of the rope, walk away from the rope, right? It's smarter. It really is. It's energy smart. And to save your own sanity, honestly, at this point. So as always, eclipses are always about truth revelations, okay? It's just going to be a massive thing, things coming out of a political / also pedophilic nature, sexual oriented news, that kind of thing. But all different types, exposures, whistleblowers, but I feel there's a difference in whistleblowers these days, or leading up to this change that we're going into, in that there's some that are being protected and others that are more hidden, and that there's stuff going on behind the scenes. So that's the feel with that. But whistleblowing definitely being a thing. You might see more people toot more horns. Okay, that's the show. And I'm hearing literally the horns tooting. So that's two things. One is in connection to various whistleblower types, but also that kind of thing, like when they do parades or protests or whatever, and they honk the horns, that kind of thing, or things to do with elections or politics or whatever movement at the time. So let's just focus on the breathing. Okay, just realize you might not be breathing, right? Very shallow breathing, and it's always a sign that you're just not centered and focused. I can feel that now, so that's why they're saying it. Breathe and sit. Hear those sounds of nature, the birds, the crickets. Connect with those trees, the sky, the sun. And allow nature to nurture. You know, they say nature or nurture, but nature is nurture. Allow yourself to receive and allow yourself to receive not just warmth, energy, truth. Allow this to be it is a time of truth. So step into that truth, not the lies and the deception. See through that. Move beyond it. And allow yourself to receive insight. And to see things from a higher perspective. Connect to your dreams, your visions, your knowings, your feelings. Awaken those senses. Awaken, awaken, rise, rise, rise. That's why when we give messages like this, those of us who are messengers, we feel the call. We feel when it's time, right, for important messages to come. Sometimes it's just the energy. It's just something. Whatever you feel that you take from this, that's your message. Allow that to be your personal message. Because at the end of the day, past all the negative aspects, we're in this time of positive transformation. That's what it's about. And that's not being blindsided. It's not bypassing. So allow yourself to reach greater levels of awareness. Allow the energy just to still you, still your mind, feel into it. And allow any change to be a blessing. Even if you see it in hindsight, it's all good. Do watch my tree energy video couple of videos back from this one, and go out there and connect with nature and report back in. Let me know how that is for you and how recent energies are for you, what's coming up. Be ready when any issues come up to face them, face that truth, whether it's personal or political, global, whatever, spiritual. Allow yourself to walk the path of truth, light, justice, and what's right, what's divine. Stay on the line of the divine. It's time. The angels always bring through funny rhymes and puns, and they're funny like that. Okay, it's so time, it's divine time. So allow yourself to be illuminated. Set yourself free, set that brain free from the agony that it gets into. If you hear the airplane flying by right now, just listen to that. And allow any hidden messages, synchronicities to all align and become clear. Pay attention to those signs and synchronicities. Keep a diary, write little notes. That's where we need to be aligned. So hopefully that helps. All right, I'm going to leave you in that energy. All right, good luck to wrap up this year and talk soon. Bye.